They never warn you about this. When you picture success, your mind fills with images of victory, applause, headlines, and the sweet sound of achievement. You imagine the day when people recognize your name, when doors open for you without effort, when your bank account shows numbers you once thought impossible. You see the stage, the spotlight, the trophies, the corner office with a view, the freedom of choice. And yet, what no one tells you, what no one writes in motivational books or Instagram captions, is that success has a hidden cost. It doesn't come printed on the receipt. There's no fine print under the glossy stories. But it's there, and it's unavoidable. Sometimes that cost is your health. The long nights, the skipped meals, the exhaustion you carry in your bones. Sometimes it's your relationships, the birthdays you missed, the dinners you canceled, the friends you slowly drifted away from while chasing a dream. Sometimes it's your inner peace, that gnawing anxiety, that relentless voice in your head telling you it's still not enough, that you have to keep running even when your legs are giving out. Welcome, my friends, to The Long Game. I'm Nathan, your host, and today we're opening the curtain on something rarely spoken of: the hidden cost of success. Because if you want to play the long game, you can't only count the money, the milestones, or the medals. You have to count the price you pay along the way. Think of the entrepreneur who built a billion-dollar empire. People admire the story, the grit, the rise. But look closer, and you'll see the late nights stacked like dominoes, the family photos with empty seats, the vacations that never happened, the nervous system permanently wired for crisis. Or think of the athlete who wins gold, the crowd roaring their name, cameras flashing. Their body is breaking down, tendons fraying, bones worn from years of pushing past limits. The medal shines, but behind it are scars you'll never see. Or the artist, celebrated for brilliance, whose work reshaped culture. On the outside, they're icons. On the inside, they fight loneliness, doubt, or demons they never learned to silence. These stories are not exceptions. They are the rule. Because success, true success, extracts a toll. The more ambitious your dream, the heavier the toll. You trade comfort for progress. You trade certainty for growth. You trade ease for mastery. And often, you trade pieces of yourself for something bigger than yourself. But why is this cost so invisible? Because society loves to celebrate the outcome, not the sacrifice. We see the highlight reels. We don't see the nights of self-doubt, the tears that fell in silence, the mornings when motivation was nowhere to be found, but the work had to be done anyway. The story of success, polished and packaged, hides the story of struggle. And here's the paradox. The very thing that makes success so inspiring, its rarity, its difficulty, is also what makes it expensive. If it were free, everyone would have it. If it required nothing of you, it wouldn't be called success. It would just be luck. But success demands a price because it shapes you along the way. The price is not random. The price is transformation. I want you to pause here and think. What have you already given up in pursuit of your version of success? Maybe it's sleep. Maybe it's weekends. Maybe it's comfort zones. Maybe it's friendships you thought would last forever. We don't often count these losses, but they are real. And acknowledging them doesn't make you weak. It makes you aware. Because awareness is the first step in playing the long game without burning out before the finish line. In this series, we're going to dive deep into this hidden side of achievement. We'll explore why chasing success can leave people empty even when they look full from the outside. We'll uncover the silent trade-offs that shape careers, relationships, and inner lives. And most importantly, we'll ask, is there a way to succeed without paying with everything you've got? Is there a way to win without losing yourself? The hidden cost of success isn't here to scare you away from ambition. It's here to remind you that ambition comes with responsibility to yourself, to your health, to the people you love. Because if success costs you your soul, is it really success? Or is it just another form of failure dressed in golden clothes? This is not about choosing between success and sacrifice. It's about learning how to balance, how to pace, how to play the long game without running out of pieces to give. That's where we'll begin. And in the next part, we'll dig deeper into the kinds of hidden costs most people never notice until it's too late, and how to recognize them before they drain you dry.
When we talk about the hidden costs of success, one of the first prices people pay is time. Time is the one resource you cannot renew. You can always make more money, build another company, write another book, launch another product, but you can never buy back the years you gave away. Think about the long nights, the weekends sacrificed, the vacations postponed with the words, "maybe next year." At first, it feels like a noble trade-off. You tell yourself, I'm investing my time now so I can enjoy freedom later. And sometimes that's true. But the danger is later often becomes never. The present slips away, and you realize you've built wealth but lost the moments that made life rich. I once spoke with a successful executive who had risen all the way to the top. He had the corner office, the stock options, the respect. But when I asked him about his proudest memories, he didn't talk about deals or board meetings. He talked about the soccer games he missed when his son was young. He talked about the dinners where his chair sat empty, and he said, I would trade some of these achievements to relive those moments because I can never get them back. That is the hidden cost no one calculates on the way up, the compound interest of lost time with people you love. Another invisible cost is health. Success stories often glamorize the hustle. Wake up at 4 a.m., work until midnight, sleep when you're dead. It sounds heroic, even cinematic, but bodies are not machines. They break, and when they break, no amount of money or applause can buy you another body. Behind many success stories are stress-related illnesses, chronic fatigue, anxiety disorders, heart problems. The grind culture sells you the idea that success means pushing harder than everyone else, but what they don't show you is the bill that comes due later when the years of stress catch up in ways you cannot ignore. Then there's relationships. Success often asks you to focus so intensely on your goal that everything else fades into the background. At first, you promise your friends you'll catch up soon. You tell your partner it's just a busy season. You reassure your kids you'll have more time after the next milestone. But milestones never end. There's always another deadline, another opportunity, another mountain to climb. And slowly, people stop waiting. You reach the peak of your career only to look around and realize you're standing there alone. But maybe the most subtle cost is identity. When you pursue success, especially in a world that measures it with external markers like money, titles, and recognition. It's easy to lose track of who you are without those things. You become your achievements, and that's dangerous. Because what happens when the applause stops? What happens when the stock price falls? What happens when someone younger, faster, hungrier comes along? If your sense of self is built entirely on external success, then failure isn't just a setback, it's an existential crisis. I think of it like building a house. If you build on sand, the house looks fine for a while, but the foundation is unstable. When storms come, it collapses. The same is true for identity built purely on success. You need something deeper, values, principles, relationships that holds you up when success wavers. And here's something people don't often admit. Success can become addictive. The brain treats achievement like a drug. Every milestone gives you a dopamine rush, the same chemical hit as winning a game or eating sugar. At first, it feels incredible, but soon you need bigger wins for the same high. The first promotion was thrilling. The second felt good. By the third, it's normal. And now you're chasing not just goals, but the feeling of winning itself. That's how people burn out, not because they don't achieve, but because they keep moving the finish line. This hidden cost, the endless moving target, is perhaps the cruelest of all, because you sacrifice so much thinking you'll finally arrive at peace, only to realize peace never comes from achievement. It comes from learning when enough is enough. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to demonize success. I believe success earned honestly can be beautiful. It can provide freedom, opportunity, legacy. But the point of today's reflection is to remind you that success is never free. Every choice has a shadow cost, and if you don't see it, you'll pay it blindly. So the question becomes, how do we recognize these costs early? How do we protect ourselves from losing what matters most while still striving for excellence? How do we play the long game, not just winning, but sustaining, not just achieving, but living? In the next part, we'll explore strategies to balance ambition with sustainability. We'll look at how to define success in a way that doesn't hollow you out, how to protect your time, your health, and your soul, even as you reach for big dreams. Because success should not destroy you, it should build you. And that requires awareness, wisdom, and courage to walk a different path than most people blindly follow.
So, here we are, face to face with the truth. Success is not free. It extracts a price from every person who dares to chase it. The question is not whether you will pay, but what you are willing to pay, and whether the trade is worth it in the long run. Let's talk about balance. Balance doesn't mean avoiding hard work or refusing sacrifice. Balance means knowing which sacrifices are temporary and which sacrifices should never be made permanent. For example, skipping a weekend with friends to finish an important project is sometimes necessary. But if skipping becomes your default setting for years, the damage is irreversible. Balance is the art of drawing boundaries in a world that constantly pushes you to give more. One powerful practice is redefining success itself. Most of us inherit society's definition without question. Money, status, recognition, external proof that we've made it. But if you pause, breathe, and ask yourself honestly, you may find your version of success looks different. Maybe it's having dinner with your kids every night. Maybe it's keeping your body healthy enough to run marathons at 60. Maybe it's doing meaningful work, even if it doesn't bring fame. When your definition of success is authentic, the costs you pay feel less like losses and more like investments. Another strategy is to think in terms of seasons. Life has seasons of intensity, where you push hard, and seasons of rest, where you recover. The problem arises when people mistake one season for a lifetime. They live in permanent hustle, permanent sacrifice, permanent burnout. But even athletes at the peak of their careers schedule rest. Even nature has winter. You cannot bloom all year round. Building intentional seasons of rest into your pursuit of success is not weakness, it's strategy. It's what makes the long game possible. We also need to speak about health with brutal honesty. If your body collapses, your empire collapses with it. Your mind cannot produce brilliance when it's starved of sleep. Your heart cannot carry passion when it's burdened by constant stress. Success that costs you your health is just a slower form of self-destruction. Protecting your health isn't a luxury, it's the foundation of sustainable achievement. And then there's relationships. Here lies one of the most underestimated costs. Think of it this way. When people at the end of their lives are asked what they regret most, almost none say, "I wish I'd spent more time at the office." They talk about people, the ones they loved, the conversations they never had, the moments they missed. If your pursuit of success leaves you isolated, surrounded by wealth, but starved of connection, you have not truly succeeded. Because in the long game, success without love is failure in disguise. There's also the spiritual dimension, not in a religious sense necessarily, but in the sense of meaning. Why are you chasing success at all? Is it to prove something to others? To fill a hole inside yourself? Or is it to express your gifts fully, to contribute something lasting, to live aligned with your deepest values? When success is disconnected from meaning, every cost feels heavier. But when success flows from meaning, even sacrifice becomes bearable, because it feels like part of a larger purpose. Now, how do you actually play the long game? Here are a few guiding principles. First, set non-negotiables. Decide which things you will never sacrifice, no matter the opportunity. Maybe that's dinner with family. Maybe that's 7 hours of sleep. Maybe that's your integrity. These are your anchors. They keep you from drifting into the illusion that everything is worth sacrificing. Second, practice subtraction. Not every opportunity is meant for you. The more successful you become, the more doors will open. But every yes has a hidden no behind it. Every commitment consumes energy. The discipline to say no is what protects your energy for the few things that truly matter. Third, measure beyond money. Money is important, but it's only one metric. Also measure joy, health, freedom, connection, creativity. A life that maximizes only one metric is not a life well lived. It's a spreadsheet. The long game requires a richer scoreboard. Fourth, embrace progress, not perfection. Many hidden costs come from the illusion that you must always do more, be more, achieve more. But success is not linear. It's a rhythm. Some days you sprint, some days you walk, and that's okay. The long game rewards consistency over intensity. And finally, remember the paradox of enough. There will always be someone richer, faster, more famous. If you define your worth by comparison, you will never arrive. Enough is not a destination, it's a decision. When you learn to say, "This is enough," you liberate yourself from the endless treadmill of sacrifice. So, as we close this conversation, let me leave you with a reflection. Picture yourself 10, 20, 30 years from now. What do you want to have built? Not just in terms of wealth or titles, but in terms of the kind of life you lived, the kind of person you became, the kind of relationships you nurtured. What costs are you willing to pay for that vision, and what costs are you unwilling to pay? Because success, in the end, is not about how high you climbed. It's about whether the climb was worth it. The hidden cost will always be there, but if you choose wisely, if you guard your health, your time, your relationships, your soul, you can arrive not just successful, but whole. That is the essence of the long game. And that is how you win, not just today, but for a lifetime.